Jerusalem, a city of stone and a city of blood. For Christians, it was the heart of salvation. For Muslims, a sacred trust. For both, it was worth dying for. In the year 1095, a single speech changed history. At the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II called upon Christendom to take up arms, not for land alone, but for God. What followed was not one war, but centuries of conflict. This is not a tale of heroes and villains. This is the true history of the Crusades, told from both sides of the battlefield. By the late 11th century, Western Europe was restless. Knights without land, nobles seeking power, a church eager to unite a divided Christendom. The Byzantine Empire, threatened by Seljuk expansion, asked the West for aid. But what arrived was not an army of assistance, it was an invasion. The First Crusade was brutal. As Crusader armies marched east, entire cities were slaughtered. Jews in the Rhineland, Muslims and Christians alike in Anatolia. In 1099, Jerusalem fell. The chronicles do not hide the truth. Blood filled the streets, bodies lay unburied, and victory was claimed in the name of God. From this violence emerged new states: the Kingdom of Jerusalem, Edessa, Antioch, Tripoli. Foreign kingdoms on sacred land. At the time of the First Crusade, the Muslim world was fractured, Sunni and Shia divided, rival dynasties competing for power, Jerusalem poorly defended. The Crusaders succeeded not because they were unstoppable, but because their enemies were divided. Yet memory endures. Over decades, a new idea spread across the Islamic world: jihad as defense, not blind violence, but resistance. Leaders like Zengi and Nur ad-Din began unifying Muslim territories. Cities strengthened, faith and politics aligned. And then came a man shaped by both worlds, Saladin. Baldwin IV, King of Jerusalem, a child crowned, a king marked by disease. Leprosy weakened his body, but not his will. Against him rose Saladin, not a fanatic, but a strategist. Where Baldwin fought to preserve fragile Christian rule, Saladin fought to reunite Islam. Their conflict was not personal hatred, but political inevitability. Baldwin defeated Saladin at Montgisard. Saladin learned from defeat. After Baldwin's death, the balance shattered. Reckless Crusader leadership replaced careful rule, and history turned. The Battle of Hattin. Saladin surrounded the Crusader army, cut them from water, burned the land around them. It was not luck, it was preparation. The Crusader army collapsed. The true cross was captured. Jerusalem lay defenseless. When Saladin entered the city, the world expected another massacre. It did not come. Ransoms were demanded, civilians spared, holy sites protected. This was not mercy without reason. It was calculated rule. Saladin knew something many rulers forget. Power lasts longer when it is remembered with respect. The fall of Jerusalem shocked Europe. The Third Crusade followed. Richard the Lionheart marched east. Battles were fierce. Respect existed between enemies, but Jerusalem was never retaken. Later crusades grew darker. The Fourth Crusade sacked Constantinople, a Christian city. Faith was replaced by greed, the original purpose lost. By 1291, the last Crusader stronghold fell. The Crusades were over. The Crusades were not a clash of good and evil. They were a collision of faith, power, fear, and ambition. Christians believed they fought for salvation. Muslims believed they defended their world. Both suffered. Both remembered. The Middle East was forever changed. Europe was transformed. And Jerusalem remained contested. The Crusades did not end hatred. They did not secure peace. But they taught history a lesson still ignored. When faith becomes a weapon, everyone bleeds. This was the Crusades, not a legend, not a myth, but history, told from both sides of the sword. The armies gather beneath a burning sun, steel against steel, faith against faith. Two worlds standing face to face on sacred ground. Banners of the cross rise over thousands of armoured knights. Infantry forms ranks. The Crusader host advances, disciplined, determined, outnumbered. At its centre rides a king. Not a warrior of towering strength, not a conqueror hardened by youth, but a boy crowned by fate. A king marked by disease, a ruler whose body was failing, yet whose will would shake empires. Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. Across the field waits Saladin, master of Egypt and Syria, the greatest Muslim leader of his age. This is not merely a meeting of armies, it is a meeting of destinies. And history is about to remember the name of the leper king. Baldwin IV was born in 1161, the son of King Amalric I of Jerusalem. From childhood, something was wrong. While training with other boys, Baldwin showed no pain when struck, no reaction to wounds, no fear of injury. His tutor, William of Tyre, noticed the signs first. Leprosy, a disease feared above all others. A slow decay of flesh, nerves and strength. In the medieval world, leprosy meant isolation, weakness and death. Yet fate chose Baldwin to rule. At only 13 years old, after his father's death, he was crowned King of Jerusalem, a child king, a dying king, a kingdom surrounded by enemies. The kingdom of Jerusalem was fragile, a narrow strip of land carved from conquest, surrounded by powerful Muslim states. To the south, Egypt, to the north, Syria, and uniting them, Saladin. Saladin was not merely a general, he was a strategist, a reformer, and a unifier. His goal was clear: the destruction of the Crusader states. Many believed Jerusalem would fall within years, but Baldwin refused to accept that destiny. Though his body weakened, his mind sharpened. He learned politics, he learned command, and most importantly, he learned when to fight. In 1177, Saladin invaded the kingdom with a massive army. Baldwin was only 16 years old. He could barely ride a horse. His hands were already numb, his face hidden behind a silver mask. Yet he rode to battle. At Montgisard, against all logic, Baldwin led a desperate charge with barely a few thousand men. The Crusader forces struck Saladin's army while it was spread and unprepared. What followed was chaos. Saladin's troops broke. His army was shattered, and the Muslim world was stunned. A sick teenage king had humiliated the greatest commander of the age. Mondisar became legend, and Baldwin became more than a king. He became a symbol. Despite victory, the disease advanced. Baldwin lost sensation in his limbs. His face deteriorated. His strength faded. But his authority did not. He ruled with discipline and restraint. He balanced rival factions among the Crusader nobility. He resisted reckless wars. Unlike many around him, Baldwin understood the limits of power. He sought stability, not glory. He negotiated when possible. He fought when necessary. And Saladin learned to respect him, not as a weak king, but as a dangerous one. Baldwin knew the truth. He would not live long. He could not produce an heir. This haunted his reign. The question of succession threatened to tear Jerusalem apart. Rival nobles maneuvered for power. Ambition replaced unity. Baldwin attempted to secure the future by crowning his young nephew as co-king. But time was running out, and without Baldwin, the kingdom's fragile balance would collapse. Baldwin IV died in 1185. He was only 24 years old. Within years of his death, the kingdom of Jerusalem unraveled. Poor leadership, internal divisions, reckless decisions. And Saladin returned. In 1187, at the Battle of Hattin, the Crusader army was destroyed. Jerusalem fell soon after. The city Baldwin had protected his entire life was lost. Baldwin IV was not meant to rule. By the standards of his time, he should have been hidden away, forgotten, discarded. Instead, he became one of the most remarkable kings of the Middle Ages. He proved that leadership is not forged in strength alone, but in resolve. That courage can exist in a failing body. That a king can inspire fear, loyalty, and respect without lifting a sword himself. Saladin conquered Jerusalem, but even his enemies remembered Baldwin, not as a leper, but as a king. Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, the boy who should never have ruled, the king who should never have won, and the legend history refuses to forget. He did not conquer through terror alone, nor through mercy alone. He ruled by balance, by discipline, by belief. To his enemies, he was feared. To his allies, respected. And even to those he defeated, he became legend. This is the true story of Saladin, the man who shattered the Crusader kingdoms and reclaimed Jerusalem for the Islamic world. Not a myth, not a saint, but a statesman forged by war. Saladin was not born into royalty. He was born in 1137 or 1138 in Tikrit to a Kurdish family serving regional rulers. His father, Ayub, and his uncle, Shirkuh, were military commanders, loyal, disciplined, pragmatic. Saladin's early life was not shaped by glory, but by administration, religion, and restraint. He studied theology, law, governance. By his own admission, he did not love war in his youth. But history had other plans. Saladin's rise began not in Jerusalem, but in Egypt. In the chaos between Crusaders, Fatimids, and rival Muslim powers, his uncle Shirkuh seized Cairo. When Shirkuh died in 1169, Saladin, young, underestimated, was appointed Vizier of Egypt. Many expected him to fail. Instead, he dismantled the Fatimid Caliphate, restored Sunni rule, and transformed Egypt into the economic and military heart of his future empire. This was not conquest by sword alone. It was patience, organization, and absolute control of supply and loyalty. Saladin was becoming more than a general. He was becoming a ruler. Saladin understood one brutal truth. Jerusalem could not be retaken while the Muslim world remained divided. Step by step, he brought Egypt, Syria, Mesopotamia, and Arabia under his authority, sometimes by war, often by diplomacy, always with calculation. He presented himself not as a tyrant, but as the defender of Islam. Not perfect, not universally loved, but undeniably effective. By the 1180s, Saladin commanded the greatest unified force the region had seen in generations. And now he turned his eyes west. In 1187, near the Horns of Hattin, Saladin faced the Crusader armies of Jerusalem. He did not rush. He cut off water. He forced movement under the sun. He waited. The Crusader army collapsed. King Guy was captured. The relic of the true cross was taken. The military power of the Kingdom of Jerusalem was broken forever. This was not a heroic clash of equals. It was a strategic execution. Saladin had won. Jerusalem now stood defenseless. When Saladin entered Jerusalem, the world expected slaughter. They remembered 1099, when Crusaders had massacred the city's population. But Saladin chose a different path. The city was taken through negotiation. Civilians were allowed to leave. Ransoms were organized. Holy sites were protected. This was not mercy born from weakness. It was authority born from confidence. Even his enemies recorded this moment with reluctant respect. Jerusalem was Islamic once more. During the Third Crusade, Saladin faced his most famous opponent, Richard I of England. They never met face to face, despite what films suggest. But they exchanged gifts, messages, medical aid. They fought brutally, yet respected each other as warriors and rulers. Neither could destroy the other, and so they negotiated. Jerusalem remained under Muslim control, but Christian pilgrims were allowed access. Not victory, not defeat, but balance. Saladin died in 1193 in Damascus. He left behind no treasure. So little money remained that his family struggled to pay for his burial. A ruler of empires who died almost poor. His legacy is complex. He was not flawless. He was not gentle. He waged war without hesitation. But he ruled with discipline, restraint, and vision. Saladin became legend not because he was perfect, but because he proved that power does not require cruelty alone. In an age of holy war, Saladin stood as something rare, a conqueror remembered not only for what he took, but for how he ruled.